just going to get together and do this little astrodoodle for everybody, and I'll join you in a few minutes. Okie dokie. Let's see how that works. Alright, we're getting there. Hang in just for a few moments and we'll do this. bless you. Oh, blessings. Jeepers, man. Sorry about that. It's it's been a very sneezy time lately. I don't really know. Oh gosh. I don't know what it is, but it's there. Anyway, so, good evening, people. Hello, Ivona. Hello, Olson. Hello, Love Triber. Is there a cocktail service? Well, there's a do-it-yourself thing. You just open the window, reach your hand out, and grab whatever you can get. Hello, Queen of Water down there in wintry Melbourne. Oh, excuse me, I'm all sniffy. Oh dear. So let's just see something here for a moment. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, greeting. It's working. Hello, good evening. This is Sunday evening here, Pacific time in the United States, 13th of June, 2021. There we go. Hello, Necessary Truths. Greetings. So I'm just going to go over to the Astrodoodle in a minute. How's everybody doing after these eclipses? Well, I did a few little... I did some notes on the eclipses. I think it was on Wednesday. And I was trying to point out things that struck me in particular were how the Gemini-Sagittarius axis was, in line with the Gemini North Node. And that happens to align with the... Let me see if I can find it here without causing a lot of trouble. Let me go over to the stage a minute. With the United States, which has its own very important Sagittarius-Gemini axis here. Okay, so this axis is extremely important to the United States. It's about relationships. The relationship of the rest of the world to the United States, and the relationship of the United States to the rest of the world. And how is that working out? Well, it's turning out to be quite troublesome in many ways. There are lots of little tiny countries or smaller economies that are really, really struggling because of the American hegemony and American currency practices with its finances. This axis is also very important for this fellow called Donald. And you'll see it over here. This axis here, Gemini Sagittarius. He's born with a Gemini sun. And Uranus in Gemini. And a Gemini North Node conjoined. Wow. Okay? So, as I predicted many weeks ago, this fellow would be back in the headlines again. And it's very hard to get rid of him now because he's there. And no matter what the MMM, the mainstream media, are telling you, this fellow is, he's persistent. Hello, Jeff. Jeff, you're that new person. Oh, no. Jeff L. That's Jeffrey Longoria. It's got to be, right. So the Gemini-Sagittarius axis is very significant historically right now with the United States. And, of course, there's a big T-square with Neptune and Jupiter. Okay. And, I can go into this another time. So this is the axis I'm talking about right now. It's this one here. We just had the eclipses along this axis. There's the Gemini, there's the Sagittarius. And the tricky part is over here with Neptune in Pisces and now with Jupiter in Pisces. It's becoming extremely difficult for the mainstream media to cover up all the fraud and the fakery that's been going on across planet Earth at the hands of the, let's say, the elites. Yeah. And so a lot of people across the planet Earth now are starting to question reality. What is real and what is fake? what they are being presented with as real is starting to be discovered to be fake, and what is being presented as fake is starting to be appearing to be real. And that's a real problem for the people who benefit from fraud, lies, deception, betrayal, theft, abuse, and so on and so on. So I'm glad this is happening, personally. We're going to have another full moon, of course, in a few weeks, just a bit less. And that's going to be the moon in Capricorn over here. So that's going to be pretty intense because it's going to be sitting on the Capricorn Cancer axis of the United States. Duh. Which happens to be this axis here, which is of course profoundly important to the identity of the United States. Capricorn. Okay, Pluto 27 degrees in Capricorn. Pluto 26 degrees in Capricorn. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter all in Cancer over here. Interesting. We have Venus over here in Cancer. And tonight, Mars just flipped into Leo and the moon just flipped into Leo. So that's accenting the Leo-Aquarius axis for the United States. Wouldn't you know? Give me a second, I just dropped everything. So, I'll just put it over here like this. Because the Leo-Aquarius axis happens to coincide with the United States axis of the nodes. Aquarius South Node and the Leo North Node. Is all of this just a coincidence? I don't think so. I think we're talking about historical events now. Okay? Okay? So, of course, the story plays out differently for everybody. Let's go over here. Jeffrey Longora is chiming in with some financial nuggets here. Looks like the bond market is about to bounce along with the gold, but we will see. I didn't really take any notes about all of this, but because I'm really just sensing it and observing it and just living through it all. I haven't really put a huge amount of effort into analyzing all of this. I'm basically saying, like, I told you so. Okay, and then what's everybody going to do about it? A couple of interesting things happened recently that have really shaken up the global financial system. Little tiny El Salvador over there in Central America, as you know, is a very screwed up, messed up country. I can't remember how, they've got a few million people, and it's 70% of them are outside of the banking system. El Salvador is completely riddled with crime and corruption, violence, murder, and immigration, trying to get to the United States, and a lot of extreme poverty and squalor. In the last couple of days, El Salvador elected to choose Bitcoin as legal tender in its country. How crazy is that? It's so crazy that it's terrifying to the International Monetary Fund and JP Morgan and Wall Street and the whole of the New World Order. Ooh, dear oh dear. And if little El Salvador can do it, then there's going to be a lot of other countries that are poor and suffering under the tide of inflation that's destroying their economies. And Bitcoin is their last resort. They're giving up on physical gold and they're switching to Bitcoin because it's outside of the system. It's all about we the people. Money for the people, by the people. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And you can't stop it. Hello, Tina. I got your magic post-it note already lined up, ready to go. Okay, let's see over here. Over here. Alright, so Yeah, thank you, Tina. So if anyone wants a little mini live tarot reading this evening, some of you know the drill already. You can do the super chat, which is where you put money directly through the YouTube payment processor. Super chat. It's a button just where you type in. It's a little box. Okay. Yes, Tina, I got it. I got it. You can also, if somebody wants to donate the other way, you can do PayPal. If you've got PayPal, you can send it directly to alittlebookabout@yahoo.com. The other way you can do it is similar. You can go to the tarotlumination.com website and click the donate page and go to the donate button, and then it sort of behaves like super chat. They all behave like super chat. You have to have a payment processor, swipe a card, and you put your donation in, and that's how it works. Tina's going to put some potatoes on soon for dinner. Excellent. Yeah, so I like cooking myself. Well, I'm not cooking myself, but I like cooking. And I have these kind of really cool French fries that I make. I just take regular potatoes and I cut them up roughly in the shape of French fries, but a little bit thinner. And I keep the skin on and I clean them and everything like that. And then I shallow fry them. And they come up just yummy. And you can put whatever you want on them. Creole seasoning, mayonnaise, ketchup, blue cheese, dressing, ranch dressing, whatever. Garlic, salt, all of those things. So, I don't know what it's like where you guys are. This is Las Vegas, and right now it's about 106 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's about 44, 45 degrees Celsius for those of you in other countries. So it's pretty toasty warm. Luckily there's some air conditioning here. 106 degrees, and it's only June. In a few weeks we're going to be going up to about 117. It's crazy. All right. Now let's have a look. Gold is going to pop. Okay. Well, that's interesting, Jeffrey. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I noticed that, I'm not a seasoned trader or anything, but I've noticed that even with all the repression in the gold markets, that gold prices have reached up to $1,900 an ounce now. And they're struggling to keep it suppressed. In the old days, if there was no cryptocurrencies and there was no market manipulation, gold, the price of gold bullion, gold coins would probably be about $35,000 an ounce now. Instead, it's repressed down to about 1900. There's not much that can be done about it because the elites have figured out how to suppress the price beyond any control of the genuine market. That's how defrauded and fake the global financial system has become. And my personal opinion is that it's all going to come unraveled. Ha, 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 ha. In a slow and irreversible way. All the big elites at the very top of the global economy, they've done everything that they can, as far as I can tell, to try and destroy people's morale, people's economies, people's belief systems, so that they can come in and save you. If anybody comes up to you and says, "Vote for me, I will save you," and they bring up all sorts of really, really important sounding subjects that sound really, really heartfelt and genuine and true and really caring, I would recommend that you run as far away as you can as fast as possible. Okay? Because the chances are that they are actually trying to subvert you. Okay? Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you. Huh? Huh. Love Triber is restating and redefining reality. 2 plus 2 equals 5. This is a fact as far as the elites are concerned. Okay. Ava is home. Oh, Ava! Oh, Tina, you're talking about the German Shepherd. Oh, this is beautiful. Thanks. So Ava is home. Tina ran her chart, and she has Sun, Venus, Chiron, and Mercury all in Aries in the 8th house. Sounds like a perfect cadaver dog to me. Deep, deep, deep diving. Yes, that 8th house energy is about deep, deep soul diving. Wow. And with all that powerful Aries, not fearing death. Wow. Holy jeepers. That's fantastic. Wow. Go Ava. Go Ava. Yeah, Ava is a cadaver dog. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Wow, yes. Alright, let's go back over here a second. So, yeah, right now the way things are, hold on, I'm just going to stick to water for a moment. Right now the way things are, at this very moment in time, we have an out of sign opposition. Mars is in Cancer over here. Sorry, yeah, well actually Mars is actually in Leo. Both of these guys here are like at the 0-degree Leo mark, okay? Over here. Mars is conjunct the moon, and Mars is actually in Leo, but it might as well be in Cancer as far as the alignment is concerned here. So this is significant for the United States. My feeling is that the United States is becoming, let's say, much more assertive in trying to protect itself down to the level of the Constitution. I was just reading something moments ago where there are states and counties all across the United States of America now that are declaring constitutional abidance laws. And it's all being organized by the sheriffs, okay? The sheriffs. As you know, the sheriffs are duty-bound and sworn to abide by the Constitution. And there are a lot of places in America that are getting sick of people trying to override the Constitution with their, let's say, abusive agendas that completely ignore and circumvent the Constitution, as though these leaders have complete command and control and they can just say whatever they want and it has to happen. And that's not true. That's not how the United States was built. The United States was built in such a way that we have a republic where every state, or whatever it is, 50 states, Alaska and Hawaii, all the states essentially operate like their own countries. They're very autonomous, very independent, and they have their own cultures, laws, and everything, and they have their own Supreme Courts and courthouses and Congress and justices and governors and mayors and so on. And they also have sheriff's departments, and the sheriff's departments are very much to do with keeping law and order. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but there's been a shocking collapse in law and order across this country, and there's been a lot of very degenerative activity in the economy and in politics and human behavior. A lot of like a country that is very, very sick and very diseased, that's basically being taken over as if it's with a metastatic cancerous tumor. But these sheriffs have decided they've created this new thing about constitutional abidings, okay? And they're touring all over the country to give coaching and understanding to all the sheriff's departments all over the United States about what it really means to be a sheriff, and how the constitutional law, which is based on natural law, overrides anything that the out-of-control, self-imposed fake government is trying to impose upon us. And so the more and more the fraud, fake people are trying to impose their evil agenda upon us, that's how I look at it, that's personal, I'm getting personal now, the more resistance they are encountering. And the other thing I've noticed is, like, to me, it's pretty obvious that the whole world is starting to wake up and realize that this whole CCPVIRUS is some kind of massive. I'm probably going to get shut down. Damn it! I should probably not be talking about this stuff because I've been shut down before because of this. Anyway, there's a lot of this starting to happen in the United States right now. Pluto versus Mars, Pluto versus the Moon is happening along the Cancer-Capricorn axis of the United States of America, which is very much to do with massive corporate power that is born out of the creativity of the Sun energy, the Cancerian energy, in the 8th house of America. Okay, so I don't know a lot of astrologers who deal with this stuff or talk about it, but it seems glaringly obvious to me. But you have to kind of really step back and look at the astrology from way up in outer space, and then you can understand what's going on. So yeah, basically what these sheriffs are doing are basically saying, we are going to uphold the Constitution. And if anybody from any federal department or any jurisdiction that thinks they can override the Constitution in our jurisdiction, we will not only refuse to oblige by their dictates, we will protect and defend ourselves from these dictates. And this is happening all across America. Like, it's starting to blossom. There's enough people starting to build up momentum where we, the people, are saying, you know what, there's something really wrong. We can't just sit back here and eat popcorn and watch everything turn to hell. We're going to do something about it. And it's starting to happen. And it's a massive wave, and it's a momentum that's going to build up throughout the journey of Saturn through Aquarius, and then Saturn through Pisces, and then Saturn into Aries, and then Saturn in Taurus. Wait till that happens, okay? In the global financial system. Oh gosh, I'm kind of ranting. Let's just check in with Tina Miller had a Shiba Inu. Oh, a 16 when she passed. Okay. Trained other teams in their canine teams. Will you be your only handler? I am on a Tina's on a canine team. We go out as a team. It will take about 1.5 years to train her. Okay, that's fantastic. Yes, I will be her only handler. Wow, this is so cool. I get how important her job is, but you need to be independently wealthy to give in this way. Okay. Where she goes, I go. Okay. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Go Ava. Go Ava. Woo! Okay. All right. If there's anyone out there who wants a little mini reading, please check in now. Type it in and let us know, and I'll give you some tips on how to get yourself booked in. Let's see. I think I talked about that already. Yeah, if somebody wants a reading, especially if. By the way, are there any folks here tonight? Are there any folks here tonight who've never been here before, never done this before, never had a live mini tarot reading? If so, don't be scared. Introduce yourselves. Come and hang out with us. Tell us where you are. I'll just do a little recap of the people that I'm aware of right now. Ivona is up here around New Jersey. Necessary Truth is up here around New Jersey. All Sun is around here as well. Okay. Love Driver's over here in Las Vegas. Tina's over there in Houston. And I think that's it. That's the only people I can see. Whoever else is out there. Oh, Jeffrey's over there in Texas. I think you're traveling to Ohio soon. Okay. Yeah. So Jeffrey's over here, and he's gonna be hanging out over here. So if there's anyone out there, you've never been here before, never done these kind of things before, and you are intrigued or curious, then don't be shy. Check in, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, where you are. I mean, you could be over here. Queen of Water, yes, see? Queen of Water is way over here, and they're getting some cold weather right now because they're south of the equator. Here's the equator. This is the equator right here. Here's little tiny Ecuador. See if you can see it. It's so tiny. No, sorry, El Salvador. You see, El Salvador, I don't think you can see it on this map, really. The camera's not good enough. El Salvador is right here, but pretty much all of these countries in here have really taken notice that El Salvador has agreed to introduce Bitcoin as legal tender in their country. So I believe that will set a precedent for all these countries to accept Bitcoin as legal tender, all these countries over here to accept Bitcoin as legal tender, and some of these over here, okay, and some of these over here. Because they want to have a life. They don't want to live under the command and control of the elites from over here and over here, the commies from over here and the commies in here. They want their own lives, their own worlds. They want real money for doing real work. They don't want to have their money stolen from them by inflation, manufactured inflation by the Federal Reserve of the United States and all the other central banks. They don't want that. They want what's good for them. And Bitcoin solves that problem. Ha, 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 ha. So here's an example of the problem. Jupiter in Pisces is in a very awkward inconjunct Mars and Moon in Leo. Okay? I feel that the energy goes this way. Also, there's a really awkward inconjunct between Pluto and the Sun in Gemini. So the things that are happening right now are impossible to ignore. Everything that's fake is starting to smell. And everybody can smell it now. And it's becoming a real problem. This is the aspect, of course, we've talked about this many times. This aspect here represents the fraud and the fakery. Neptune in hard angle to all the Gemini energy over here, the North Node, communications, commerce, trade, and so on. There's another hard angle over here. I really should add that too, because this is not going away anytime soon. This is another hard angle that's been with us, and it's going to be with us for most of the rest of this year. This is also, this aspect here, Saturn in Aquarius, is in a very hard relationship with Uranus and Taurus. This is very much to do with the destabilization of the status quo in global finance and the slow, inevitable, and painful inversion towards having an egalitarian financial system that is inclusive and fair and honest for the rest of the world, for the rest of humanity. Okay? This is a very, very tough alignment. And all the people over here who live in the world of the status quo elites are trying to make sure that the global financial system remains intact according to their control, where they can completely manipulate the world economy through very evil, fraudulent means. And there's enough people on earth who are now figuring this out, and there's started to become some resistance, okay? And even Uranus doesn't want the status quo. Uranus is trying to rattle and shake and dislodge the status quo so we can have financial inclusion, financial systems that work for we the people, okay? Wow. That's beautiful about the story about Ava. It's going to be fantastic as this goes along over the years, Tina. It's going to be amazing. So I don't know how any of this is working for you guys. I'm making the best of it as best I can. And a big part of me feels inside, well, I told you so. That's kind of how I feel all this. Because I'm not so heavily directly affected by the evil over here and the evil over here and the evil over here, because I'm already out of the system. So I still have to live in and around, I have to live around the system, but I'm less affected than most, simply because I do not comply with the system and I don't believe in the system. And I'm trying to learn how to make my life better and better outside of the system. It's sort of like those doomsday preppers, you know, and hoarders and people who are expecting the apocalypse. I'm not quite that myself, but I am very concerned about my finances. I don't want to be a victim of fraud and theft and lies and betrayal. And you don't need to be either. So if, for example, okay, so if, for example, anyone out there who's never done this before, we have the ability to like do close self-examination, like when I do private consultations. If anybody wants one of those, you can just go to tarotlumination.com and you'll figure it out. It's just like book your reading kind of thing. And then we can go into all of this. How does all of that stuff affect you personally? What's it going to look like for you down the road? How are you going to cope with your current challenges, whatever they might be? You know, whatever aspect of your life. Each of you got different charts, and all these aspects that we just talked about will impact you in different areas of your life. In the old days, I would have done like probably 24 videos about all this, 2 videos for each sign, but I don't have it in me right now, and the channel doesn't get paid, so there's no point. I can't do it. I can't operate as 100% charity, sadly. So that's one thing. If anybody's out there, especially people who've never done this before, you haven't even typed your name in or anything, and you want to get into it a little more personally, I'm available here. Go to tarotlumination.com. You can book your readings. Also tonight, if people are interested, you could book a mini reading. We only got 1 book so far, so it's probably going to end up being a very short show. And then we'll do a little live mini reading with you. Okay? Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm just seeing the storyline unfolding here about the search and rescue dog Ava. Tina Miller is now the owner and handler of Ava, the new search and rescue dog. Wow, it's going to be wonderful. Definitely, if you can document this, maybe even have your own Ava YouTube channel. Woohoo! That might be a little frivolous. I'm sorry. I don't want to, trivialize Ava and her work and your work, Tina. Alright. Cheers, everyone. Alright, we only have one reading book for tonight, so might as well just get on with it. If anybody wants one, you can send some PayPal to a little book about at yahoo.com. That's my email. Or you can go to tarotlumination.com. Over here, click the donate page and do it that way. Or you can go over to the super chat button, which is just below where you type in the chat. Okay? So, I look forward to that. Tina, you're up. Hello, Karen. What's up? Alright, so we have Karen just showed up. Karen, in case you don't know, folks, Karen is over here in New Zealand, in wintertime for New Zealand, right over here. Here's New Zealand, and there's Melbourne, Australia. Queen of Water is over here. Karen Clark is right over here. Of course, it's Monday for them. Greetings. There's a lot of things that I probably should have prepared for the show tonight about all these subjects, but I didn't, okay? Oh, you donated on the donate page? Oh, okay, hold on, let me just check and I'll get you your magic post-it note any moment now. Let's just see over here. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you. Got it. I got it, Karen. Thank you so much. Very nice. Thank you. Wow, it works. It's amazing. Isn't that how this all works? I get blown away. I'm blown away all the time that we can do any of this at all. It's mind-boggling to me. All right, so Karen Clark just bought herself a very expensive post-it note. But she does get a free mini reading out of it. I've seen New Zealand in the headlines recently, where things were getting a little bit awkward and tense between New Zealand and China. And your Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, is kind of in a very difficult, very difficult position. Because here's, look at it. Here's New Zealand, right? And as you can see, they are very isolated geographically from the rest of the world. Just to be able to hop from New Zealand to Australia, that's about a 5-hour flight, okay? And New Zealand is very rich with agriculture and artisanal foods and so on. It's a very beautiful land. It's very agricultural. And over the last few years, they have radically improved their economy. A lot of it is to do with exporting mostly foods like beef and dairy stuff over to China. And China basically is happy to scoop up everything that New Zealand can produce. It's the same thing with Australia. Australia has a huge trade with China. But as you've probably noticed, there's a lot of conflict in the world right now associated with this place over here, China, because they are becoming very aggressive and belligerent about how they want to dominate and take over the whole world. And they're doing it like a bunch of thugs and bullies. And it's not going over very well with a lot of people. They have their tentacles everywhere on planet Earth. Everywhere. Every African country with all its lithium and gold and cobalt. The Middle East and the Kazakhs with all its oil and gas. Europe with all its resources, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, all of Central and South America have been infected by the CCP over here. And it's all done with bribery and corruption and murder to get done what they want done. So it's very, very difficult because Australia has had to live with severe sanctions now by protesting against the CCP for their criminal behavior. They're basically a bunch of thugs and criminals in suits. They're very, very murderous. Since Mao Zedong, they've got about 65 million people blood on their hands for the CCP, just with their own people. 65 million people. Talk about slaughter, okay? And so New Zealand is part of an alliance with a few other countries like Australia. I think it's, I can't remember, they call it the Five Eyes. And New Zealand is in a precarious position because if New Zealand barks very loudly and says, China, you need to stop what you're doing with all this depravity and squalor and murder and deprivation of human rights. You must stop now. And then China says, well, if you keep telling us to stop, we are going to sanction you and we're going to stop buying your food. And so Jacinda doesn't want that to happen. Jacinda wants to maintain healthy exports to China because the New Zealand economy has a huge chunk of its trade already allocated to China. So Jacinda, the Prime Minister, is in a very difficult position because there's other people around the world looking at her saying, well, Jacinda, what are you going to do to protest against the CCP, huh? You can't just sit there and say, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll be nicey, and just so long as you keep buying our cows and our milk and our butter. And so Australia has made huge sacrifices by shutting down trade with China. And so my personal feeling is that for all the effort that New Zealand could put inside to trying to convince the CCP to continue trading, I think it would be a good idea if New Zealand started to do a lot of promotion campaigns and marketing by sending out a few ambassadors for trade and marketing all over to the United States and to Europe. New Zealand already has a significant import-export with North America and Northern Europe, and there's no reason why they shouldn't expand it. I was in Costco the other day. What was that? Yeah, do you remember that one? Do you remember that one, Love Triber? Walking through the aisles of the business section of Costco, there was a whole freezer section just devoted to New Zealand products. Okay? That's how valuable the goods are over here in America from New Zealand. New Zealand, I mean, it's all meat. I'm sorry if you're like a veggie or you're anti, factory farming. It's understandable. But you can buy a whole goat at Costco. You can buy a whole lamb. You can buy, all sorts of New Zealand products that are exclusively from New Zealand. And a lot of wine now, too, is going to Trader Joe's. So what I'm thinking is like New Zealand, because of the way transport works right now, I know it's expensive to transport stuff in and out, but I'm sure there's a way that it could be figured out so that New Zealand can stay healthy in its economy with exports and not give up its morals and principles just to be all nicey with the CHINA and the CCP. Okay? Alright. So it's really, really, really tough because the thing is, once you've taken the bribes, once you've taken the bait, once you've formed these relationships with the CCP, it's like getting in bed with a drug dealer or a loan shark. You are now in a very dangerous position, because these guys here, they play dirty. They play very dirty. And so, a lot of the United States is beholden to the CCP. The whole of Apple, all of your iPhones, all of your Apple laptops and computers, they're all made here in what amounts to slave camps. Okay? That's very, very awkward. Not everybody in America knows that. What they do, they buy these very expensive, beautiful tech gadgets with a huge profitable markup for Apple, which is based over here. And the huge profits are only attainable because Apple strikes these deals with the slave camps over here in China. So everything's designed over here, but it's made over here. It's the same thing with HP and Dell and a lot of things like that. Also, the CCP, as you know, is responsible for massive, astronomical wholesale theft of intellectual property from all over the world, but especially the United States when it comes to technology and military. So please be aware of that. And they're very, very active today, and they're going to continue until they are physically stopped. Their whole business model is based on crime and theft. It's called a kleptocracy. Kleptos. These guys are kleptomaniacs. They rule by theft. They steal and they rob and they hijack, and then they create the products and services or whatever it is based on the intellectual property, which usually takes a lot of time and money to develop over here. And so they can fast track whatever they want to do over here, because all they do is steal it from here, and then they learn how to manufacture it from here, and then they make it happen. That's why China has been so incredibly aggressively successful with growth in the world economy since the 80s. It's only like 40 or 50 years, like 60 years ago, this place was a third world dump. Now it is like there's Shanghai, okay? Where is it? Shanghai. Okay, there's Shanghai right there. Guess what the population is of Shanghai? It's about 25 million, okay? And that's nothing for China. The population of greater Los Angeles is about 7 million, okay? So you can't even compare the United States to China, okay? The population of New Zealand is almost 5 million, okay? I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. I wish I could show you the charts about all these population curves and everything. I find them very interesting. But anyway, let's get on with your readings, people. I'm going to put this aside. Thank you for your patience, Tina. Thank you, Karen. I'm going to put this... Oh, by the way, we got some serious retrograde behavior coming up soon. Today, right now, it's the 13th of June. We're living through Mercury retrograde. Towards the end of the month, it's going to go direct. But as soon as it goes direct, Jupiter and Neptune are going to go retrograde. And that's going to be a much heavier, deeper energy. And it's going to be much harder to understand, much harder to unravel. But it's very much going to be doing with global fraud. The exposure of global fraud on a massive scale by the CCP, the NWO, on all those folks. Basically the elites who are trying to take over our lives and our worlds. Okay? Alright. So, chat amongst yourselves, folks. There's a very active conversation going on with Tina regarding the dogs. And Tina, you can keep doing that because you're going to get your reading anyway, whether you listen to it or not. So it doesn't matter. So help yourselves, everybody. Karen, you're next. I'm going to leave a blank post-it note here in case anyone else wants one. Thank you. Okay. Just FYI for this show tonight, when I was setting up the show and all the technology a few hours ago, it was 105 degrees here outside. Right now it is 108 and it's going to breach 109. Luckily there's very few homeless people in Las Vegas. Los Angeles, my old neighborhood, my God, it's so bad. I got out just in time. It is so bad. The crime and the squalor, the violence, it's completely out of control. As you know, California as a state is in very deep trouble because they have extremely corrupt and perverted leadership. And a lot of people like myself are now refugees from California, especially Los Angeles and San Francisco. So my situation is not unique. There are 3 neighbors just in visual eyesight here of this beautiful suburban neighborhood where they are all Los Angeles refugees. Maria, hello. Oh my gosh, 105. Necessary Truth TL in your PayPal. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Necessary. I'll put that on here right now. Okay, so we got that. Thank you, Necessary. We'll see what we can do. If you folks don't mind, I'd love to just do blind readings, and we can really like pinpoint. It's just like letting the universe work through us. Right? But don't even bother to identify any issues. All right, let's have a look here. I'm going to use the Universal Golden Deck tonight. As you know, I don't do reversals, I don't do flyers and jumpers, and I'm not doing oracles right now, and so on. I call this the diagnostic, it's my situational spread. It's the same thing that, you know, they talk about in Washington. They have a situation room. It's neutral. It's just like, what's going on? Let's figure out what's going on and how we're going to deal with it. Okay? That's all it is. That's really all this is. Diagnostics. They have really severe problems in Phoenix, Arizona, and all the smaller Sunbelt states that are roasting alive with the extreme drought and increasing temperatures. Phoenix, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, all of those places. Utah, it's getting really bad. Eastern Oregon, Eastern Idaho, the whole of California is going through extreme drought and extreme excessive heat. And it's not going to go away. Our environment, our world is being radically shaken up, and there's no going back. Sorry, folks. I think there's going to be a lot of climate migration. It's already starting. I'm already as far ahead of it as I can get. I'm doing research to try and find out if there's any options available. Because it's deadly. This kind of heat is deadly. And of course it's the same for other parts of the world where things are getting more extreme with water and everything. I just learned the other day that 5 years worth of water that was all stored up in the California reservoirs was released this year into the ocean. Okay? So if you're suffering disruptions in your food chains across the United States, you can thank the leadership of California, because they've essentially destroyed the California agricultural economy. And it's going to get a lot worse, folks, so you better start prepping. Love Triber knows a lot about prepping, if anyone's interested. Love Triber also does readings. Also, Necessary Truth, as you know, is a psychic medium. All right, sorry, Tina, I'm just gibbering. I'm just trying to kind of settle in here. Just give me a moment. All right, we are very well shuffled right now. Bless this deck, bless all these cards, every single one of them. Bless the lights, the camera, the technology, the apps, the code writers, the wires, the electricity, all of that. Jeffrey. Whoa, Jeffrey, what's going on? Whoa, hold on, let me see that. Oh, gosh, you're serious. Okay. That's pretty hardcore. Honestly, I don't know if I'll be able to take any more readings after this anyway. So let's not worry too much, okay? All right, here we are. Let us trust in divine intervention. I'm just going to cut it up. We'll go for it. All right. Okay, Tina, here we go. Now, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now, of course, Tina, we have a little bit of history together, but I try to delete and forget as much of it as possible, because that tends to, either prejudice the readings or influence them in a way, because I don't like to second guess things. I just like things to be very, very pure and pristine, very much about living in the now. So when I look at this, I'm going to be referring to sacred geometry, external influences. I think of it as the weather, but I also, of course, refer to the astrology, which I think of as weather. So we have here, number 20, Judgment. It's almost the last card in the deck. It's all about liberation, freedom. To me, it feels like it's your time, Tina. And it's like, it's something that you deserve. The theme of freedom, okay? This is a very Aquarian energy, you could say, right now. This is a very strong Aquarian theme. Saturn is in Aquarius. Jupiter is going to retrograde back into Aquarius soon. Saturn is going to be there for at least another year and a half, if not more. Hard squaring Uranus and Taurus the whole way by sign. And what it is, it's about liberation. It's just like, I see this as very opportunistic for you, Tina. And let me see if I can get it really close up for you. It's a beautiful card. I wish you could see it better. Sometimes the camera grabs it, but anyway. Also, what comes with the energy of freedom is redemption and forgiveness and forgive and forget. And like blessing your past and present and future, and like giving yourself permission to be free, to almost like remove the shackles, remove the chains, remove the limiting fears that you probably carry. Because Tina, I mean, my channel's been running for about 4 years, and you've been here almost since the beginning, and you've been through some huge changes. And it's only recently that you're starting to like really step out into this whole new dimension, okay? And to me, it feels very liberating. You just wrote something about your Saturn return is at 28 degrees Aquarius. Okay, so you're heading into that right now. My feeling is like, a lot of people are scared of Saturn returns, and quite rightly so. But in your situation, Tina, because you've done so much work, Saturn rewards you. Saturn, if you don't do the work on your first Saturn return, about 29 and a half years old, you will feel the pain. Okay? It's like trying to skip school and classes and everything and thinking that you can get through in life and society without doing the work. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. It looks to me like, let's look at this as a very broad spectrum. You are looking at a lens of liberation and humanity and humanitarianism and liberty and freedom, being unshackled. Not only are you looking through the lens is becoming more like available to you. It's like a portal. It's like a portal is starting to appear in your life, sort of like this, and you're being invited to enter the portal so that you can come out the other side, which would be, like you're talking about here, your Saturn return. I look at this as very good news, okay? It's very karmic as well. Saturn returns are very karmic because it's very much to do with three-dimensional reality, like, doing a score. It's like doing an examination at school. What kind of grade are you going to get? An A, B, C, D, E, or fail, But I have a feeling you're going to be just fine with this because you're already headed in the right direction. I think this is very symbolic. Freedom, liberty, and of course what you're doing with Ava is very humanitarian. It's literally a gesture towards helping humanity. So that's beautiful. What's the situation itself? Okay, let's be honest here, because I was kind of sensing this. This doesn't surprise me at all when I see the Five of Cups here. To me it feels like, despite this overarching energy in which you are living right now and which is being offered to you and presented to you like a portal and a pathway to freedom and liberation and offloading anything and everything in your life that is an unnecessary burden. Right now the situation is that you still carry just below the surface, okay? Just below the surface there is the energy of grief, the energy of sorrow, the energy of loss. But I feel this is very much to do with the past, Tina. This is very much to do with the present and the so-called future. But right now, I feel the Five of Cups here is an indication that just below the surface, you're carrying the emotional pain of grief, suffering, sorrow, and loss that comes with having lived a good life this far, this long, and having been so generous with your heart and soul, okay? And then seeing that a lot of times it doesn't reciprocate the way you would think it would do according to the laws of physics. So this would represent like all the losses recently that you've had to endure, especially like with family and all those things where things don't quite work out the way, and no matter how well intended you are, things can really backfire, and it's not your fault. To me, this is literally, it's very pure, it's very simple. There's no point in ignoring this or pretending it's not there. It's probably much healthier just to acknowledge that even though it's very clear you're heading towards a portal, towards a new life, very much more about Tina Miller as opposed to Tina Miller, the compulsive nurse, the compulsive caregiver. That's never going to go away, but what is the new version of Tina Miller going to look like in a few years from now? I think it's very much going to be in alignment with the liberation here, and eventually all this grief and sorrow, deep, deep sorrow and pain will heal over, and it'll be part of history rather than carrying it as deep wounding and pain just below the surface in your everyday life. Okay, so it's very much a healing thing. This is very much about healing and growing and evolving and moving on in a new direction, but it does mean going through a portal. What's the problem here? Okay, so with the Two of Wands here, even though you've got this powerful energy surrounding you, to me it looks very supportive about understanding that you have a whole new life opening up ahead for you, where you might feel that there's a lot less Saturn energy, a lot less burden, a lot less heavy karma, and you would be perfectly okay to release some heavy loads and senses of obligations that really are like problems that you can't really solve, no matter how much you might love people or care about them, and instead starting to realize that, my gosh, I do have a right to live my life for me now, and I'm still being compassionate. For example, you working with Ava in a search and rescue situation. But there's a deep fear that there is very little definition about what the future looks like. Okay? So, okay, it's fantastic to be exposed and have access to this amazing portal to new life and freedom and liberation. Okay? Like, to me, this is like Tina Miller going next level. But the way it looks like in your three-dimensional reality has so little definition that it's like almost like the fear of the unknown. The Two of Wands is very much about direction and sensing direction and pondering the future. And if you're still living under the frequencies of a lot of pain from the past, this is going, to me, this is like going back decades, even to when you're a child. This is like the accumulated energy of grief and sorrow and pain of everything that went wrong in your life over which you could do nothing. And then having to deal with that, but put it all in a big basket, and it's going to go into heavenly healing, and you're going to move on. But as often happens with profound, radical, transformational healing, when what happens, like, you look at it like this way. I've done this before in private readings. I don't do it much in public, but it's just like you take away, let's say I'm some kind of doctor or whatever, and now I'm also acting out the role of Tina. Like, you take away my problems, you take away my pain, my suffering, my stories of all my past and this and that, and you're trying to destroy me. It's like it gets to the point where, who am I without my pain? Who am I without my stories of suffering and loss? Who am I without all my burdens and my commitments and obligations that I carry out of like compulsive compassion and love and sympathy? You heal that, you remove that, and you are released into a world of freedom where you don't have to carry that weight anymore. It can be terrifying because it can make you feel as though you're losing your identity. That's why a lot of people don't want to heal. They're scared of healing because they associate so profoundly with their pain. It's very, very common. So there's a little bit of that there. It's perfectly natural to have fear of the unknown. If you don't have like a massive mission, like Jeffrey's talking about, like a business plan for the next 30 years. You don't have to. Okay? You don't have to do that. You can trust in the universe. You're already so aligned. Might as well just keep going. Even though it's scary. All right. So it's understandable if there's a little bit of fear in the unknown about exactly where is all this newfound freedom that's going to occur over the next few years. Where exactly is that going to take me? What is my future going to look like? Am I going to be in the right place with the right people for the right reasons and the right purpose and everything aligned in a healthy way? I don't know. Okay. So this is looking like a very broad spectrum reading, okay, Tina? So how are we going to deal with that? Okay, to me, it's very, very important, the subject of trust, the concept of trust. This is a very powerful card related to fate and fortune. You could say it's to do with the 10th house energy of Saturn and destiny and life purpose and so on. And if at the personal level, let's say you go to bed at night and you might get a little bit weepy or scared or tired or sad or depressed because of all the history and the burdens that you are still carrying, which you know you don't really have to carry, but what happens when you let them go? Then you face a huge vacuum. And a lot of people are terrified of that vacuum because it's just like, well, I don't know what to do. And people are terrified of the unknown. But when I see this here, to me it feels like it's a very, very strong indication. The way to handle things is to kind of brainwash yourself and to convince yourself that you are guided, that you are protected by the so-called fates. In other words, the seeds that you've already planted in life are already blossoming and growing, and that there is a whole new life emerging ahead for you. I think it's going to unfold over the next, I would say, year and a half, 2 years, as Saturn migrates through Aquarius, and eventually it conjoins your Aquarius Saturn 28 degrees. And then you will know it very, very clearly. But until then, we're not there yet. Okay, let me just show you. You know, Saturn is still only here at around 10 degrees. So it's going to take a while for it to get up to 28 degrees around here, where it's going to be your exact Saturn return. So you've got time. I think this whole reading here is very much to do with the journey of Saturn. And in Aquarius, Aquarius is very much to do with the Judgment card about freedom and liberation. And the amount of freedom that you can enjoy and the liberation that you can enjoy is directly determined by how much you're willing to love thyself and give yourself permission to enjoy a new future and trust that you are guided and that you are protected. There might not be exact definition right now, but it looks like a very fated journey, like everything is unfolding exactly as it should be. Why is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. It's very easy for me to like pontificate over here and spout these little, mantras that make me sound as though I know everything and I know what I'm doing, okay? But that's what this reading is telling me. It's literally saying, okay, it's saying, Tarot Lumination, tell Tina that she's okay. It's going to be okay. She's going to be going through some profound awakenings coming soon as the Saturn return appears again for the second time. She's already lined up, okay? The portal is there waiting for her. She will get through. She will come out the other side. She will be looking at a whole new world. Literally a whole new world, okay? And it's already written in the stars because you've already planted the seeds. And they're going to blossom according to the will of heaven, according to divine timing. So you're fine. You're absolutely fine, Tina. It's just in the short term, my feeling is that there's this awareness that there's a tremendous amount of what I would say cumulative trauma and grief that has built up inside you over many years of being a professional caregiver, a compulsive, compassionate caregiver. And you don't need to carry that anymore. You can bless yourself. You can heal yourself. You can allow yourself to, you know, be rewarded. Saturn will reward you. It's just like, wow, I don't have to carry all those burdens. I can't save the whole world. All those people, the loved ones that are very close to you that you would love to save, that you would love to help, where sometimes it's just backfired and thrown back in your face. It's okay. You can just step back and say, I love you anyway, but I can't save you. I love you anyway. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go off and live my life. Okay? And you don't even have to say, I'll leave you my new phone number. I'll leave you my new email address, blah, blah, blah. You can just bless you. Okay? Bless your enemies and bless the ones you love. Okay? You're going to be absolutely fine, okay, Tina? I think you're entering a whole new paradigm. And I think Ava is very much a part of it. I think it's going to be very, very satisfying for you. Thank you very much. That is the Wheel of Fortune. Tina, that is the Wheel of Fortune. Let me show you. It's very much to do with the ups and downs, the cycles of life, and understanding that from a much larger perspective, the book is already written. And you are just living your life as you go through the book of your own life, okay? Okay, so there you go. I think it's a beautiful reading, Tina. We're talking about very big spectrum energy fields, but here in the present moment, if you're carrying literally years and years of congested, accumulated trauma and grief, not just from a few loved ones, but, you know, from so many people that you've had to encounter on a professional level, it's time to reveal it, to heal it, okay? Let it all come to the surface. If you end up having to go through, like, what I would call like these spasms of grief and crying, where you don't even know why you're crying, okay, and it just gushes out of you, that can be extremely healing. And then when that happens once, and maybe a few days later, you can have another gushing, weeping event, and it's profoundly healing. Some people, of course, they don't like to cry because it feels very uncomfortable. But the after thing is, it can be extremely healing. You've got to reveal it to heal it. So you might encounter a little bit of that, Tina, as this comes up more and more and more for healing. And you have to reveal it to heal it. But once you've done that, it's like a purging. And then you end up with a very kind of light energy, okay? All right. Thank you, Tina. Thank you so, so much. Next up is Karen. After that, Necessary Truth. And then Jeffrey. Thanks for the support, Jeffrey. You're going to get a reading anyway. So there you go. All right. So I'm going to shuffle these all up. Everybody, chat amongst yourselves. I got to shuffle and prep things up here. I am going to... I'm not sure what to play. I want to play a little song now. I'm going to play I Am Guided, I Am Protected, because that's sort of to do with that fortune card there for Tina. Okay? Let's see if I can make this work. Okay? There it is.
I am guided, I am protected, 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 I am guided, I am protected. When the light of hope it fades, when all faith is blown away, when all sense of trust goes down, when a smile turns into frown, when it feels there's no relief, nothing in which to believe, desperate in woe and grief, angels come reminding me, I am God. guided, I am protected, I am 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 guided, I am protected. Angels gather close to me, show me what I cannot see. Angels take me by the hand, lift me when I cannot stand. Angels lead me through the dark, soothe and tend a broken heart, laughing at the circumstance, crying while we sing and dance. I am guided, I am protected, 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 I am guided, I am protected.
So there. I hope that helps. All right, Karen, down there in beautiful New Zealand. Let me show you everybody. It's funny because before all the big CCP virus went all over the world, a lot of people had never even heard of New Zealand. And then when New Zealand did a complete national lockdown, they locked down the whole country, 5 million people almost. That sent shockwaves across the world. And of course, that was about a year ago. March 3rd, 2020 was when the big lockdowns happened. As you know, January 2020 was the big moment when they dropped the bomb. Now here we are a year and a few months later, and New Zealand is in a very jolly condition from what I can tell. Yes, there's still problems, but they did not get so ravaged as some places. I mean, I'm one of these people, I believe that the bug is manufactured as part of a global scamdemic, because I think the elites are trying to cut global population by billions. They want to take it from 7.8 billion down to about 2 billion. The only way you can do that is with a massive globalized pandemic plague where people are dying in the billions. And the elites are really pissed off because their master plan was pathetically failing compared to what they wanted to do. I mean, there was a lot of pain and misery all over Earth, and a lot of people died, but it's only in a few million, really, when you think about it. It's nothing close. I mean, these guys over here, the CCP over in China, they slaughtered 65 million of their own people just to force their communist agenda. And they're trying to make it look as though it's all some kind of innocent, oh, it's just a bug. You know, it came from a bat over here in China. Sorry, we couldn't help it. No, I personally believe the whole thing was manufactured, and Anthony over there in Washington and all his evil buddies, they had it all planned out, but the plan didn't go as well as they were hoping it would go. So they're trying to make new plans about how to destroy humanity and rebuild it to their liking as a completely global totalitarian state based on the CCP model. It's not going very well. But anyway, New Zealand was very lucky because they're geographically so isolated by just simply shutting down their airports. Nobody could get in, nobody could get out. So they're in a sweet spot compared to a lot of places. Okay. All right, Karen. Karen, you've been with the channel now for years. It's amazing. I'm so happy. We had a few other people from New Zealand too, but I haven't heard from them in a long time. Do you remember Pam Bam? She's up by the Bay of Islands, I think, or where is it called? It's just north of Auckland. There is a beautiful seaside community on the northeast, north of Auckland. And Pam Bam was over there. I actually met Pam Bam in New Zealand. We ended up meeting up and had a cup of coffee at a little cafe in a tiny town called Huntly in the North Island, close to Hamilton. Oh, I can see now. Look at, there's some notes there between Jeffrey and Love Triber about all these top secret financial stories going on. Well, Karen, whatever the reading says, of course, we all want what's best for you. I hope everything's going well, okay? So, Karen Clark, yes, Pam Bam, yeah. Pam Bam is actually a Scottish lassie, and she emigrated from Scotland about 16 or 17 years ago with her boyfriend because he was offered a job in New Zealand, and then they separated or something, and she decided to stay and he went somewhere, I can't remember, but because she has lived there so long now, starting off with a legally acceptable situation, she is now a permanent resident. So she's incredibly lucky. It's almost impossible for anybody to emigrate to New Zealand and buy property or set up a life there if you're not born and raised in New Zealand. It's very different here in America. Anyone from China can just walk over here with a few $1 million in cash and just buy whatever they want for houses and land and farms. You can't do that in New Zealand. And I'm really happy for you in New Zealand that you are incredibly restrictive about your immigration. Of course, not for me. I would just like to have an exception for me. But, okay. Anyway, I don't know what's up with Pam Bam. I haven't seen her like in a year and a half. So I don't remember. I don't know what's going on. Some of you might not know this, but Karen Clark has a business in the North Island of New Zealand where she's kind of like an ambassador for Maori art, especially some of the fabrics and the weavings and sculptings and so on. All right, here we go. Let's have a look. Again, let's bless this deck and bless every single card. Again, people know, people please understand, Karen is a very dynamic entrepreneur kind of woman, like a take charge person. New Zealand is quite well known for that. Women are very, let's say, I would say active in New Zealand, because they had to be. Entrepreneurial. Let's have a look here. Let's see what's going on. Women's rights and all that. Very powerful movement in New Zealand. All right, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Let's have a look at the weather. Nine of Swords. Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Remember, Karen, this is not you. This is energy that might be surrounding you. This could be like weather. So with the Nine of Swords here, you haven't reached the point of critical mass where you just implode. But it looks to me like whether you like it or know it or not, like for example, because you're one of these, I would call a woman of substance, you are capable, you create your own weather, you create your own dynamics, you run your own business, you have a family, and all of those things. And that's what happens with strong women. They tend to take on a lot of, let's say, work and responsibilities, sometimes more than they really should or more than they have to. And sometimes what happens with people who are, let's say, really good at handling problems or dealing with stress, other people sense that. So it becomes like a magnet, and all of a sudden, not only are you attracting a certain existing number of issues and problems and stresses, you start to attract more. It's physics. It's just raw nature of physics. And like magnetism. And so you might be at a point where, whether you like it or know it or not, Karen, you might be attracting stress to you. Okay? Without intending to. Obviously, you don't want to have any more stress in your life than you can carry in terms of your conscious self. And you're already kind of stressed out a bit because we've worked together before, and I know you have a lot on your plate with the family and the business and all of that and so on. But there's this thing where it's nothing. It's almost like it's nothing to do with you, Karen, at all. It's more like to do with the laws of physics. Once people recognize that you are good at handling stress and taking on other people's problems and like fixing them or saving them or doing things or solving things, then you can attract more and more of that to you. And that starts to be a really big problem. And so when I see the Nine of Swords here, like surrounding, like weather, okay? And when I relate to the planets over here, I'm going to keep it very simple. Just let's take notice of all the heavy red markers over here. This is a very stressful alignment. This is a stressful alignment. This is a stressful alignment. This is a stressful alignment. They're all happening simultaneously. And they could all manifest in so many different ways. You know, money, society, home and the family, creativity and business and self-expression, your destiny, your business, your purpose in life, in this lifetime, your health, okay, your sense of self, okay, your values and your beliefs, all of that. This is for global energy, but you might be feeling it as though it's your own energy. And so that could be really, really tough and challenging, and it might be taking its toll on you, whether you know it or not. For example, Karen, I have a brother, okay? We don't see each other that much, but sometimes he comes to visit me. He has been very successful, and sometimes he can afford to just like hop out and do trips and visits and things, or sometimes he can combine a business trip with a social visit. But since I've been living in Las Vegas, we haven't been able to do that. But I hope so soon. My brother is very capable, and it shows in his work, in the services that he provides. And he tends to attract clients that are very needy and that have very specialized situations that require, let's say, careful management above and beyond what most people would be willing to handle in his business. And it's because he's got a reputation of being able to handle complex situations and just deal with it and make it all work for the client. But sometimes it gets to the point where it's too much, and they expect too much, and they want too much, and they demand too much, because the reputation kind of gives people a green light, like, well, you're the best at blah blah, so like, fix it, blah blah blah. And people start taking advantage of that. And it took my brother, quite a long time. Well, not a long time. He actually he had to teach himself how to go to certain clients. Like, you know what? I can't help you. And that's how he works. Like, I don't care how much you pay me, how much you want to pay me. I'm not willing to deal with your situation the way you would like it to be dealt with, according to how you would like the problem to be solved. I know how to solve the problem, but you're not going to like the solutions. And if you want to pay me to give you the solutions that you think you ought to have, I don't do that. I'm ethical. I run my business. I'm not just going to pander to you to get that paycheck. And so he's an expert at that. He's an expert at boundaries. He's an expert at saying no. But because of his talents, he also attracts situations that can be very challenging. So, in sort of a way that I'm sensing here, it's just that I'm trying to give you a parallel analogy, okay, Karen, where to me it feels like it's very, very easy for other people to take advantage of you simply because they intuitively sense that you can handle it, as if you could dedicate all your time and energy just to solving one other person's problems. But that's not fair. Your life, you have a right to live your life for you. And so I think it's really important to understand and realize that whether you like it or know it or not, I feel like you have attracted a lot of stress and pain and suffering into your life and your world that's not really yours. But you take it on out of compassion, love, habit, or upbringing, or being conditioned from whatever it is. And to me it feels very much that these are not your burdens, but you're carrying them as if they are your burden. This is circumstantial. This is external. I feel it as though it's like you're like a lightning rod. You know, lightning rods that attract lightning. Bzzzt, bzzzt, bzzzt. It's like whether you know it or not, you're attracting this. All these sparks and lightning bolts and energies of people who are freaking out and stressing out and can't cope with their personal lives. And so somehow or other they discover, they find you and they dump on you, like bzzzt. They take it out on you, or they expect you to fix or heal them or something. So what's the situation itself? Okay, so we've got the Eight of Cups here. Let me see if I can see. So hopefully you can see this really. It's a beautiful card. Oh, it's not showing up. Nah, it doesn't want to do it. It takes a lot of money to get the next level of equipment and computers and softwares to go to the next level that I would love to do with this channel. But anyway, we'll see it eventually. But you can see the basic outlines of the Eight of Cups here, okay? So to me, this feels like you are perfectly aware inside of you what I was just talking about here. But it feels like it's very sad and it's very unfair, because you have been very loving, conscientious, compassionate, and caring, and very well intended, and you have chosen to be loving throughout your life. That is your natural default setting, and you just spontaneously, automatically, naturally give it away. Even if it's sometimes you have to be really tough about situations or with certain people, it's still always coming from an intention of being loving. Remember, love is as love does. So when love in action means the actual expenditure of energy in terms of being loving. In other words, how much time are you spending with someone where you'd rather spend your time somewhere else? How much effort are you expending to care for someone when you'd rather care for yourself a little bit? How much patience are you using up? How much knowledge, how much work are you having to do because of your loving nature, default nature to be committed to compassion and being loving, and then realizing, like, almost at the point where you get to a point where, like, what was the point? Why did I even bother? What was the point? Okay? It doesn't matter how loving I am. It doesn't matter how much love I put out or share, or whatever I've put out in my past, in my life. It's like it never happened. Like, nobody seems to understand. Nobody seems to appreciate. And what was the point at all? Well, here it's a very tricky thing, okay, Karen? I'm just going to share a little personal story here. Years ago, I used to work on a TV show called My Name is Earl. It's a very kind of bizarre American situational comedy about some very ordinary people dealing with karma. And the hero, his name is Earl, he goes around trying to fix up all the damage that he caused earlier in life by trying to make amends with people. And of course, it's a farce, it's ridiculous, it's silly, it's funny. But the core theme is it's really all about love. You'd never know it by watching the show, but that's how I see it. Anyway, sorry, hold on. The point I was trying to get at, there's one episode that I worked on there for 5 years, and there was like 150 episodes or something, I can't remember. But on one of the episodes, there's Earl. He's looking really dejected and kind of miserable and lonely and isolated. And he has his dear brother Randy at his side. And they're walking through the suburbs in a very kind of despondent way. And Earl has been working on his mission to make things right for years. He won the lottery so he can live independently, and he lives frugally, and he spends his money just paying rent at the motel and eating food and things like that. But the rest of his time, he's doing good works. He's making amends for all the damage of his past. And then after a few years of doing all this, he starts to get really kind of like, a little bit resentful. Like, and he's talking to his brother. You know what, Randy? I'm a good man. I know I screwed up a lot. I hurt a lot of people. I did a lot of bad things. But I've been making up for it. I've done good things. Look at me, Randy. I'm a good man. And then he gets a little bit sniffy. And then he gets a little bit angry. And he says, you know what, Randy? Where's the good thing for me? Where's the good thing for me? I'm doing good stuff. Where's my thing? Where's my good thing? When is it all going to kick back? When's karma going to give me my good thing? And of course, Randy is like, I don't know. But I remember that particular episode very clearly. So, what I'm sensing here, I'm not saying this is the same energy, but it's like, it's for you, Karen, it's coming to the realization like, wow, I put out all this love. Love is as love does. I am loving and I am loved. I know deep down I am loved, but I'd like to see hard evidence. I would love to see hard evidence that I am loving and I am loved. Instead, what I'm feeling is that I am loving and nobody gives a shit. So I just have to keep going on. Doesn't make any sense. It's like it's not fair. It's a lonely experience. But you know deep down at the soul level you have to keep going, Karen, okay? You still have to abide. Being loving, being loved. To me, it's like one of the laws of the universe, okay? What's the problem with all of this? Okay? So it can be very disempowering. It can be extremely draining at times. When you are born with a natural tendency to be loving, no matter what, okay? I'd like to think in a perfect world, be loving, be loved. Karma works instantly, instant karma. Be loving, be loved. Being loving means love in action. Taking action in your loving gestures with your hands, your voice, your words, your tasks, your work, your intentions, your time, your energy. That's love in action, and a lot of the times that's very inconvenient and very uncomfortable. And so you might be feeling this very sort of deep but very subtle kind of sadness and resentment that goes with being loving but not necessarily getting any obvious feedback about being loved. And so it can make you feel as though you are being completely and utterly drained of your power. Like, it doesn't matter what I say with my thoughts and words on the swords. It doesn't matter my ambitions or desires or intentions with my wands. It doesn't matter how much value and effort and investments I put in. It doesn't matter how much compassion I share to be loving. Where's the love for me? Where's the magic for me? It's not fair. Okay? So, I hope that makes sense. So what are we going to do about this, Karen? Because it really isn't fair. It really isn't fair. But what I'm sensing here is that we're kind of like, I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of pompous guru or anything, but going back to the Nine of Swords, you have to understand the way the laws of nature work, the laws of physics work. Whether you know it or not, Karen, whether you know it or not, you might be attracting all this stuff to you that really you don't need to do. You don't really need to constantly deal with someone else's pain and suffering and energy and take it on take it on yourself because you can, because you were a woman and you are loving and you are compassionate. And the more you keep going that way, the more and more of the suffering and all the stress that you're going to attract to you. And it doesn't have to work that way because nobody is telling you that you have to give all your love away and be loving and never love thyself. It's another very subtle but profound, complex issue with people who are compassion junkies. Tina has a bit of that in her. You know, a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years, I've done thousands of readings for people. I try to help them as much as I can. But a lot of the people who end up coming to this channel have a very high level of compassion. They're very loving by nature anyway. That's their default setting, whether they even know it or like it or not. And Karen, you're one of those people. Okay? And it's like you can't help yourself. But there's another thing where you just don't want to throw all that compassion and love down a drain. Okay? It's okay for you to save some for yourself. Because if you just continue to just give it all away, that's actually kind of martyrdom. And that's not healthy. It's like compassion is a one-way street. I know you understand being loving, be loved. And if you're not feeling the love coming back at you, and so you just keep pumping the love out there, that can be, let's say, what's the word? Counterproductive. Do you see where I'm coming from here? And so, I'm not trying to say it's all your fault, Karen, but to me it feels like from here, whether you like it or know it or not, you're attracting issues simply because you are who you are. Just naturally giving and caring, compassionate by nature. People see that. It's like you have like a tattoo on your forehead that says, I'm here, take whatever you want. So people go, oh, okay. You are loving? Okay, thank you very much. And then they go on their merry way. Does that mean they're going to come back to you and say, I love you? Here's my love to you? I hope that makes sense. So, how are we going to deal with this? Because this is actually a really deep, subtle problem. I just saw your note there on the screen. Yes, I like to give. It is so satisfying to give and to be a giver and to see the joy on other people's faces, or to feel the flow of being loving coming through you and out to others. But you don't want to deplete yourself. You deserve to be loved too, just like Earl. And he got to that point where he questioned himself, like, well, where's the love for me? He keeps going anyway, but he's going through this growth process where, like, wow, it doesn't always work. Just because I paid off all my debts with so-and-so and so-and-so, now something, by the laws of the universe, something amazing has to happen to me. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. Oh, look at that. Look what Necessary Truth just wrote there. Okay, that Necessary, I think that just wrote that for you, Karen. When people treat you like they don't care, believe them. Wow. Oh my God, that is profound. Thank you, Necessary Truth. How are we going to deal with this? Okay, dear Karen, it feels like to me like you need to go on a kind of a goddess kind of a spa event where you basically say, okay, I know what you're talking about, Illumination. I understand. I get it. I'm a compassion junkie. I'm very loving. I can't help giving. I love to be who I am and do what I do. And maybe I'll overdo it to the point where I'm attracting so much other stress from other people and situations, because it's almost like what Necessary Truth is saying. They're just taking what they can because they can. And so, I'm not saying you're going to just suddenly change overnight and you're just going to be suddenly mean and you're going to be a tightwad and you're going to give the finger to everyone and anything that comes at you with their problems. I don't see that's happening because you're just a natural giver and a loving person. But instead, for now, the remedy to deal with this and your realization on a very deep, subtle level of what is not working for you, the way I see it with the 3 here, this is the Empress card. This is an indication. To me, it looks really simple. Karen, book yourself on a day spa or a weekend spa and tell all your significant others, moms, dads, uncles, aunts, all dependents, spouses, children, everybody. You mark it on your calendar and you tell them, I'm going to be away for a while. Okay? And it could be just down the street or something, but it's like you close up shop and you give yourself like a spa treatment. Okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly be a spa treatment, but it's just a reminder to reaffirm the goddess inside of you and recalibrate it so that you are basically in your strength and in your beauty, in your power again. And even if you start all over again and you recalibrate and re-empower yourself and you purge all the leeching and all the hangers-on and all the people who are very quietly and subtly taking advantage of you. You just shut the door to all of that for a while, and you take care of yourself. You treat yourself as a goddess. You literally spend a bit of money on you that you would not normally do. And you get back to normal. You get yourself back to normal, just like what all the ladies do in Los Angeles, okay? I lived in a highly desirable neighborhood in Los Angeles, and I could see it pretty much every day, especially before the lockdowns. Los Angeles is kind of like an epicenter for, people who are interested in physical beauty and things like that. So there's a lot of men and women who come to Los Angeles to try and tune into that physicality. All these women who want to be beautiful, all these men who want to be rich and handsome and be recognized. In fact, Los Angeles, I think, is a very lonely place for a lot of those people. But in my old neighborhood, there's a little street about 10 minutes away, 10-minute walk, and pretty much every other business on the street is something to do with female beauty. And the women flock there, especially on the weekends. They come from all over Los Angeles just to get their hair and nails done, and the body massages and the aromatherapies and the healing centers and the massage centers and the yoga centers. They would just pour in there, and they would kind of go like on a miniature one-day retreat. What I'm sensing here with the goddess card for you, Karen, is that you could like go, you know what? Maybe TL's got a point. Maybe you take a little bit of your own money and you spend it on yourself, like on a miniature goddess retreat. Here's something. Okay. Oh, hold on. Karen, I just remembered something. Last time I was in New Zealand, I was very lucky to go on kind of a huge road trip, and we ended up in one of these places in the South Island, north of Christchurch. It was way out in the mountains, and it was a spa town. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but we got there, we stayed at the little hotel, and for 2 days, we just kind of wandered around, going from one spa hot tub to another spa hot tub, and then chilling off and going for walks, have a shower and get dressed, and then go to a little cafe or a pub or a restaurant and do the same thing again. It was wonderful just being in a real live spa, like hot springs. I can't remember the name, you might remember it, but it's just sort of north of Christchurch. But something like that, okay, Karen? He says here, I'd like to treat myself to a reading from Tarot Lumination. Well, that's what we're doing right now. I'm thinking of something more personal, more private, just about you. So you can basically recalibrate and remind yourself that you have rights. You have rights to, like, see yourself as the goddess, okay? With all your beauty, all of your flaws, all of your commitments, and all your responsibilities. And instead of being just crushed by the weight of all of that, all the challenges, you basically say, every now and again, being loving, being loved, it applies to me too. Love thyself. It's one of the hardest things to do. That's what I keep telling people. Know thyself is a pathway to love thyself. So what I've noticed here over the years is that when I give readings to people, they get one step closer to knowing themselves better. And once they know themselves better, there's this kind of like, oh, wow, now I get it. And it's very delicious because you start operating at higher frequencies, and that tends to attract more joy. Like, again, it's like kind of like laws of physics. If you radiate joy and kindness and abundance, guess what comes back to you eventually, according to divine timing, according to the will of heaven. It's pure physics, okay? It might not work out exactly the way you would want it, according to your own ego, according to your will, according to like that show, My Name is Earl, where Earl was saying, well, what about my good thing? Where's mine? I deserve it too. I deserve goodness. Where's mine? He was expecting it on his own timeline. In the broader picture, it doesn't work that way. You already know all of this stuff, Karen. So all we're doing here is kind of a reminder, okay? So yeah, with that Empress card there, it's time to book yourself in for like a massage or a salon day or a spa day or something. I think your town where you are is quite small, so you might maybe... Is it New Plymouth? Is that the big town near you? See if they have some spas over there, like little retreats where you can book yourself in for a day retreat. That might seem very ridiculous and very extravagant and kind of silly. However, that's just something to consider. All right? Thank you, Karen. I see you got some support there, Karen. Next up, necessary truth. All right, let's have a look. See what's going on. Let's check all this stuff in over here. All right. I'm probably going to have to play a little tune. Actually, you know what? I'm going to play the Hey Oh song. I haven't played that in a long time. It's really, really about girl power. I wrote it because I felt compelled, and I wanted to have a really powerful, clear story. It never, as you know, it never turned into a massive hit record, but it's still a good little tune. And it's about this woman who is kind of probably dealing with something similar to what we were just talking about here, Karen, okay? So I'm going to play that song now. It's called Hey Oh, all right? So you have to listen to the words very carefully.
Relationships, they end up in the ditch, so I'm getting counseling for being an uncontrollable
So there you go. I hope that made sense to you, Karen, and that you got something out of that reading. Next up, we have Necessary Truth. Look who's here. Look who just showed up. Look who just showed up. Oh, he's right on this. You can't really see him, can you? Oh, how funny. How funny. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try something here. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know. No, it's not working. Never mind. Bubba is here. Bubba has placed himself on the stage. Oh, here he is. I'm going to introduce you to everybody here. Here's Bubba. Bubba just wanted to come in and say hi and meet everybody. There you are. Okay, Bubba? Oh, he's disappearing. Don't worry, Bubba. You're going to get your dinner soon. Don't you worry. I should have thought of that. I should have allowed for that. Bubba has a very accurate body clock. It's his dinner time. So I might have to take a break fairly soon and feed the little fellow along with his brother. We'll see. Thank you for understanding, people. All right. Okay. Yeah. Bubba. Necessary Truth. Okay, you're looking for open advice messages from John. Okay, got it. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the song. I hope that made sense to you, Karen, and you could hear the words clearly enough to make sense. All right, Necessary. What kind of messages do we have here tonight for you from John? All right. Bubba's being really nice. He's just parked himself over on the other side of the stage, and he's just going to hang out and wait till we're done. He understands. This doesn't happen very often, where I have to mess with his body clock. Let's have a look. Don't you worry, Bubba. You're going to get your dinner. Don't you worry. Can you imagine being homeless and stuck outside in Las Vegas when it's 109 degrees? Oh, it's dropped down to 104. The sun is already setting. Well, it's not yet, but it's going down, so it's starting to drop down a little bit. It's 104. I think that's like 42 degrees, okay, Karen? 42 Celsius. All right, Necessary Truth. Let's see what we've got here. What kind of messages do we have for you tonight from your spirit guide, John? We all know, Necessary Truth, because you've been here with us for years now, that you have a very like a clear awareness of your spirit guides. Not everybody has that. The way it works, I've noticed, is that you really have to invite them in, because they're there for everybody. Jeffrey has them, I have them, Allson has them, Karen has them. We all have our spiritual guides. I think of them as my invisible friends. And it works so much better by invitation when you consciously, deliberately ask for them to participate in your life in such a way that they're not telling you what to do or how to do it. They're just acting as literally guides, protectors, or reflectors for your own energy, so that you can figure out, through your own process of decision making, what to do and how to do it, and they help you. For example, you can ask Dear spirit guides, dear invisible friends, dear archangels, dear loved ones from the great beyond, please send me a sign so I can figure out problem blah blah blah. That's more or less how it works, really. I mean, you could call that prayer if you want to. But that's really what it is. It's setting up an open line of communication between yourself and your spirit guides. And life is not quite so lonely or scary or tragic when you are in close relationship with your spirit guides. Karen's weaving flowers. That's fantastic. Yes, Karen, it's 104, but in a month or two, Karen, you have to understand it's going to go up to like 45, 46 Celsius over here. That's about 115 to 117 degrees Fahrenheit. People die just walking along the street. All right, let's see what's going on. Yes, let's see. Do you see the notes there from Necessary? Yep, without the people, God, angels, saints, and your guides, there is no show. Yeah, it can be a very desolate, lonely world without your spirit guides. When you lean on three-dimensional humanity in its very narrow parameters, and you feel and you believe that, everything that you crave and wish for can come through a three-dimensional portal. It's sort of the way that the elites, the cabal, operate. They are so obsessed with power and control and money in this lifetime that they make these very powerful bonds with each other, like a private club, like a very, very exclusive private club where they take oaths about secrecy and protecting each other in order that they can get the benefits when they combine their emptiness with each other's emptiness, and they seek all their joy and happiness and fulfillment in this three-dimensional world through power and money and control. Eventually those souls will wake up in another lifetime and realize, I was way off in the wrong direction. But that's their journey. Our journey is here tonight. Thank you. I'm going to keep shuffling. Some of you already know this, but Necessary Truth is a psychic medium, and sort of like myself, I don't know how it is for Necessary Truth, but for myself, I get mediumship. I have situations of mediumship and so on, but they always happen in what I would call divine timing or according to the will of heaven. I don't do mediumships on my channel. I don't deliberately set up shows every week or day or month, and I don't promote myself as a medium, even though that phenomenon exists in my world. All right, let's have a look. It's just, in a way, it's just kind of fun having a multi-dimensional life experience where you are constantly, every day, aware that there is so much more going on than your three-dimensional world. It can provide a sense of relief, like, wow, okay, this is all a dream. This all is happening. We are all grains of sand. We are coming, we are here, and then we're gone. And that's it. And it might be terrifying for some people that the world is going to end, or that climate's going to change, or one day you might be very poor or very, very sick or whatever. But that's all part of the natural flow. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so what messages? Let's keep it really open and clear, simple, so John can have his say. What messages do we have here tonight for Necessary Truth from her spirit guide, John? All right, let's see. Thank you, Necessary. In some ways it was a little bit of a curse, but in some ways it's a wonderful thing. I have lots of stories about psychic mediumship, especially from years ago when I worked in the industry. All right, let's have a look. I'm doing a real... Whoa, hold it. All right, that was the cut. It got very, very slippery, okay? That tells me Neptune energy. Okay. Whoa, okay. I don't want to read too much into what just happened, Necessary Truth, but I'm feeling like I have to be very careful. I'm sensing the energy of slipperiness. Okay, let's have a look. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it, and let's have a look at circumstantial energy. I think of it as sacred geometry, the planets, environmental influences. It's not really your energy, but it affects you, and you're swimming in it just like the rest of us. So we've got the Knight of Swords here. Okay, so what I'm sensing, okay, Necessary for you, is that this is really about, yeah, John has something today to say. It's like, oh God, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, God. It's like there is a surrounding energy. Let's just say John is representative and let's say a spokesman for the surrounding energy. And with that Knight of Wands, it's sort of like the message is like, pretend I'm John, for example. Dear Necessary, you know I'm here for you all the time, okay? You've got Wacky Man Chris over there, and you've got the others too, that's fine. But tonight, I don't want to put any serious overtones here. I don't want to get all heavy or anything. But you have to understand, with the Knight of Swords, it's really, really important that it's like learning how to discriminate between fake and real. The only thing that counts is truth. And for the perpetrators of fraud, the way they operate is they make the fraud appear as though the fraud is the truth, and that the truth is bogus or subjective at best. I don't think the Knight of Swords represents anybody in particular. It's more about an energy field, a form of energy that you need to become more aware of. Where the Knight of Swords energy is really about, it's time to refine your filters, your discretionary filters about what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is fake, what is true, in anything that comes at you, whether it's a person with their words, actions, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Also, what are you putting out there in terms of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors? It's very, very important right now. And when I go to the charts, let me just do that. Hold on. There's such a huge emphasis here on fraud. The Gemini energy is like really, really simple and pure. It's just like Just give me the facts. Just give me the information. It's the energy of exchange. You can't close a deal or open a deal. I know somewhere necessary you're involved in finance or something in some way. You can't do honest business without honest numbers. 2 and 2 is not 5. 2 and 2 is 4. And if you are being influenced in any way or shape or form, or if you are deluding yourself in any way, shape, or form that 2 and 2 may be 5, in whatever aspect of life we're talking about here, love, relationships, finance, belief systems, how you treat yourself, whatever it is, it's not acceptable. Okay? I think the Knight of Swords energy is very strong, and it's saying, and it's like John is saying, dear necessary truth. You really have to come to terms with this subject that TL is talking about. Fraud, lies, deception, betrayal, mischief, illusion versus reality, and so on. Because the people who benefit from fraud, betrayal, lies, deception, abuse, theft, they are typically experts at presenting it as though it's truth. And because you're naturally sweet and kind-hearted and loving and accepting, it means you're highly vulnerable to fraud. I'm just using fraud as a generic term to cover anything and everything in your life that is vulnerable to fraud. Okay, whether you if you're getting played, if you're getting deceived, if you're fooling yourself, if you're fooling others, it has to stop. It can't stop unless you reveal it to heal it. So it feels like it's John's very uncomfortable position of having to call out this uncomfortable message. Dear necessary truth. You're in a situation right now in your life history where you're going to have to become much more discriminating in terms of accepting or rejecting people, thoughts, information, whatever it is that's coming at you. And exercise the sort of discrimination and cut out what is not true and allow more room for what is true. What I like, this is Tarot Lumination talking right now. Like, what I'm saying here is actually very hard for me to communicate, but in many ways it's very, very simple. It's just that the energy of fraud, the energy of lies, betrayal, deception, like with Pisces energy, with Neptune energy, in its shadow expression, it's incredibly hard to deal with. It's incredibly hard to diagnose. And it's almost like the more that you try to diagnose it and figure out what the problem is, the more and more the problem finds a way to hide and create a new veil of deception and truth as though it is true. So it's very difficult. What I think the message that John is trying to convey is that no one else can do this for you, necessary truths, but it has to be done at some point. At some point you're going to have to become more, I would say, ruthless when it comes to the energy of fraud and truth in your life. Fake and real. Fake people, real people. Fake concepts, real concepts. Fake values, real values. All that kind of stuff. What's the situation itself? Okay, so we have the Death card here. Okay, so this is, again, like the Tower card, it's a very powerful card to do with healing. But most healing, when especially if a lot of healing is required, it involves having to reveal it to heal it. and in such a way that it's irreversible. Like it's part of the evolutionary journey of life as you cross over from the world of falsehood or even marginal or acceptable falsehood, which is actually not acceptable. And when you move from a bogus world into a much more simple, pristine world of truth and simplicity and honesty, it's probably going to be painful. It's probably life-changing and irreversible. And no one else can do it but you. And so you end up in this situation where deep down, I think John thinks you probably understand exactly what we're talking about here. There's no way I can pinpoint any details, but the point is that to do what has to be done, it means having to go through some, I'd say, profound, irrevocable changes. And you actually request this to happen. To me, it feels like the situation is get to the point where you invite this to happen. You invite the death card into your life so that you can go through the beautiful experience of transformation where you can, whatever they call it, walk through the valley of death, and then you come out the other side more alive than ever before. Okay? I'm talking in very broad strokes here because it's up to you about how this translates into the details in your life. But there's no way that you can allow yourself to fool yourself anymore. It is not acceptable. Because I think what John is saying is that you have been very, very good at giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room to live through life, accepting certain amounts of bogus, subjective truth, which is not healthy for you, and you know this, just so that you can get by and get along day by day. But we're at a point where this is not acceptable anymore. You're going to have to go to the next level where it's like, oh gosh, hold on. It's almost like John is like, I wish I didn't have to do this. I wish sometimes I didn't have to do this. I'm glad Necessary Truth is getting a reading, Thanks, Tarot Lumination. You can actually be the one who's spouting these words. And I know I'm the one who's who has been requested. I know that Necessary Truth knows me, and you know Necessary Truth, but it's not a very pleasant message for me to deliver to Necessary Truth. It's like I'm having to tell her, you have to be more discriminating. You have to be more ruthless. You have to be more, what's the word? It's not more. It's like imposing higher standards on yourself, like creating higher levels of integrity. And this is another situation that happens with pretty much everybody I know. Wherever I've done a reading, they kind of go like, oh, I'm on my spiritual path, I've done this, I've done that, I'm level 3 yoga, I've done that, I read this book, I read that book, I did a lot of good things today, I've got all my candles and incense, everything's great. And they come for a reading and they go like, my life sucks, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I've done everything I can, and it just feels like it's getting worse and worse. I thought it was supposed to get better and better. The more I became spiritually evolved, my life was supposed to be lighter and simpler and happier. Well, yes, that's true in a way, but if you have predetermined expectations of what spiritual evolution looks like, and it doesn't come out the way that you look like, the way that you were expecting, then that can be severely, severely disappointing. Okay? So, yeah, I think like sort of right now so far the message is like it's an uncomfortable message. Someone's got to say it. Someone's got to deliver it. Right now, I am an instrument of the healing power of love, and I'm just literally a voice box. That's all. Um, and so it looks like with the death card here, it's almost like you already know this stuff, necessary truth. You already know this, but there's not a lot of people who actively, willingly invite the death card energy into their life because they know that it means irrevocable transformation. It's the energy of the chrysalis. You come in one way, you morph out, and you come out another way. The caterpillar and the butterfly. The caterpillar can't become the butterfly unless it goes through metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is one of these mind-boggling feats of nature when this organism surrounds itself with this thing called a cocoon, and it comes out the other side as a butterfly. I mean, how freakish is that? But that's what we're talking about here. It's like there's an extreme unwillingness to have to go through the process of metamorphosis because it can be scary. Because there's no return. Okay, what's the problem here? Okay, so I'm sensing a couple of double messages here with the Ten of Wands. One of the problems that John is saying here is like, please, necessary truth, you have to understand, one of your problems is that you don't know when enough is enough. You don't know when to draw a line. You don't know when to stop being diplomatic and kind and nice and loving and call out their truth. Okay, and then there's a flip side to this, is what I'm sensing, is that with the Ten of Wands, there's this burden, like, it's almost like you already know what we're talking about here, and you make it your natural business to call out the truth, but every time you do that, it doesn't necessarily work for you. It ends up becoming a burden. Like, I almost wish I'd rather just kept my mouth shut. I'm necessary truth. I deserve a good life just like anyone else. And if it's like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. If I call out the truth and I just create more problems and burdens for myself and the other people that I'm calling out, my life gets worse. On the other hand, if I don't call out the truth about what needs to be done and how to do it, my life gets worse. So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And then there's John here. It's just like, calm down. I'm honestly feeling like this. It's just like, okay, what I'm feeling here is that John's right there. He's like, okay, TL, we got it. You got we're on subject. We're on point here. But you need to back off a little bit because you're going to scare her, okay? She already knows this. She understands, okay? She just needs a reminder, okay? That's all the message is here from John. It's a reminder, okay? Necessary truth that you already know what's going on. It's so important to adhere to universal truth. And, like, no matter what. But it's like John is already also saying, we understand what happens. Like it's like being in a double bind. If you do that truth calling, which is your nature anyway, and it backfires on you, that becomes painful, even more burden. Like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I was supposed to karma was supposed to work for me. And then it's almost like John is saying, it's okay, just back off a little. You've already delivered the point here. Okay? Okay. Alright. Sorry, this is TL saying I'm getting carried away here on behalf of John. But John is like, it's okay. We got this. You got the point. Somebody had to say it. That's all. I hope that made sense over here, the duality of what I'm sensing with the Ten of Wands. There's no cards of duality here, but to me it feels very much like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. If I stick to purity and the highest levels of discrimination and calling out the truth, that doesn't look or work out so pretty for me. You know? If I don't call it out, and I allow mediocrity, I allow, let's say, certain levels of unaccepted behavior or circumstances, you know damn well that's not good for you. And so that doesn't work out either. So it's like being stuck in a very difficult position. Okay? How are we going to deal with this? I'm going to have a sip of wine. All right, let's have a look. Okay, I'm sensing a double message here. I don't know why, but with the Three of Wands, I think because necessary, you're already like if you're capable of mediumship, you're already operating at super ultra high frequencies, HSP, high sensory perception. You are already an HSP person. But you're still a person. You still have emotions and feelings. Happy, sad, growing and evolving, stagnating and hiding and running. All of that. So with the Three of Wands here, my feeling is that number one, it's so important, the way to deal with it in a very, very subtle way. It's so important to understand that the outcomes that you experience in your three-dimensional reality depend on how you discriminate, how you choose to stay, the degree to which you stay close to universal truth, universal laws, facts, information, reality. The farther and farther that you veer away from truth in order to get through day-to-day life, in order to perpetuate what might be a marginally acceptable, or in fact even an enjoyable situation, but ultimately it's fraudulent or unacceptable. The more and more you go on that pathway, the more and more you're going to create an outcome that's not suitable. It's simple destiny. It's simple planting of seeds. It's simple karma. You reap what you sow. So the second message that comes with the Three of Wands here is understand that once you know that you reap what you sow, which is very much to do with the Death card here, understanding the outcomes, then you can start to make decisions in your life in a little bit more of a discriminating way. Like if you want good outcomes so that the karma experience works for you, then you have to plant the seeds accordingly in advance. You can't leave this up to random outcomes like, oh, I woke up today, I'm feeling really good. Oh, I woke up today, I'm feeling really sucky. Oh, I woke up today feeling so good that I'm willing to put up with interminable amounts of bullshit so that I can still keep my happy even though I'm surrounded by BS. On the other hand, oh, I woke up feeling so crappy today, but I'm not going to do anything to get myself better because it's so much work to get back into truth, and it can be so scary to have to go through this double bind of going through the chrysalis where I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't really know what the outcomes are going to be. That's why I got this reading. Well, I think what John is ultimately saying here is that, it's almost forget everything we just talked about. Understand that you reap what you sow. But we're going at the deepest levels of the soul here. if you decide to defraud yourself by accepting fraud into your life and your world that you know deep down at the soul level is fraudulent, then guess what happens? You end up with a fake reality. And it's your own doing. Because you would have selected something bogus over the hard facts and truth. And honestly, it's not just you necessarily. Humanity is guilty of this. But this is a very personal reading, and I think John is telling me to back off a little bit. You've made your point. That's the only point I was trying to get across here, is that sometimes it's very uncomfortable to have to call out the truth to yourself or your situation, your life, your world, your loved ones, your relationships, friends and family, job, career, life expectations, and so on. Everybody does that to some extent. All of us compromise ourselves to some extent in order to fit in order to just get through the day. If I sat here all day calling out everything that I felt was even 1% fake or bogus or unacceptable in life in the world, I would be categorized as a lunatic, some kind of ranting rebel who wants everything to be perfect all the time. I'm not that person. I allow for all sorts of what I would call mediocrity or unacceptable things at the level of my ego. I allow that to happen because I know there's something bigger going on. Put it this way, if anything and everything that felt unhealthy or unjust, right, or fraudulent to you at the level of your ego came out, and every time that happened, you called it out at the emotional level, that would indicate to me that you're someone who's literally not willing to step back and look at the bigger picture. All you would be doing is complaining and operating from a very narrow, egoic, three-dimensional perspective, that was fake. I don't want that. I don't like that. And there's no growth. There's no opportunity. There's no way to transformation. There's no way through the chrysalis. The only way out is through. You're the caterpillar. You go through the chrysalis. You come out the other side, the butterfly, and so on. And so I think what John is saying here is that we just needed a little bit of clarity. Just wake up. Just remember that there are certain universal truths, like you reap what you sow, to just plant the right seeds. Sure, allow for errors, human error, inconvenience, friends, family, loved ones. Allow for that. But don't let that be your business model. Don't just give people a red carpet to doing whatever they want for their advantage, their convenience, because you could if you wanted to, rather than upset what might be appearing to be wonderful about something that is not quite right. People are very, very good at fooling themselves, deluding themselves, convincing themselves that something is great when it isn't. And sometimes they're very resistant to something that is good, even though it doesn't appear that appealing in the first place. So that's what we're dealing with here. It's a very deep message, a very subtle message. It's a very strong message. It's hard to deliver. It's hard to communicate. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm getting a pat on the shoulder, like, TL, you did the best you could. That's it. So I hope, Necessary Truth, that makes sense to you. And everything's good. It's just, this is one of those kind of awkward readings. It just had to be said. Okay? No harm done. You're still awesome. You're going to be awesome. Okay. All right, thank you. Jeffrey, you're up next. Let's have a look here. Alright, let's have a look here. Jeffrey has been very proactive recently, as you can tell from the chat. Really taking charge of his life, grabbing reality, and just like living it. Jeffrey, you have certain characteristics that remind me of my brother, okay? In terms of like taking charge in situations, doing what has to be done, being able to appraise and evaluate the pros and cons of a situation, knowing that the only way to deal with it is to do the work, do the homework, and be patient. Apply universal law, stay within the boundaries of three-dimensional reality, accept and understand that we are these, with anyone and everyone else that you're working with in life, friends, family, business partners, and relationship, they all have their own personal journeys too, and you have yours too. And I think you are good at factoring all of that mushy, incomprehensible stuff into your business model of life. Okay? I think you're really good at that. It's actually really hard to do. I think some of the really successful business people are like I've had a couple places where I've worked where I had bosses, employers who I really loved. I really respected them because they accepted me as the person that I am, and they helped me to play to my strengths, and they helped me to grow from there. They didn't treat me as an extension of themselves. They didn't treat me as an object to be exploited. They understood me and accepted me in my whole being, and then they just translated that into a working relationship. In other words, how is this going to work between you and me? How is this going to work between me and you? And so on. And I think you have some of that. It is a skill. Being able to deal with three-dimensional reality, raw, simple, three-dimensional reality. And that is a skill, because so many people want that to happen or expect that to happen according to some kind of predetermined wish or whatever. But nothing can happen until you actually make decisions in the here and the now and in the moment, dealing with universal law, facts, information, in a very, very kind of mundane, earthly, worldly kind of way. And when you operate that way, it's kind of like a step-by-step pathway to success, however you define success. So again, Jeffrey, I think you have some of those characteristics. So to me, you're very lucky to have that. Because not everybody has it. Some people and leaders get to the top through betrayal, deception, thuggery, lies, bullying, manipulation, ambition, corruption. That is not you. I've had to consult with all sorts of people who were, involved in horrific work situations, employer-employee situations. Oh, look. Boo Boo just showed up as well. Bubba disappeared. I don't know where Bubba went. I think he went out to probably take a break. Anyway, Jeffrey, this is it. After Jeffrey, that's it for the night, folks. So I won't be accepting any more readings. I mean, I would love to, but it's not going to happen tonight. So let's just enjoy ourselves as we are. Jeffrey, thank you so much. All right, let's see what we've got here. All right, let's have a look. I see your notes. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now, I don't know if this reading is going to come up to be anything to do with current job situation. We'll just see what happens, okay? Circumstantial energy, environmental influences, the weather. I like to refer to the astrology, the sacred geometry, the aspects. Okay. So we've got the Five of Cups here. To me, it feels like you're at a point where it's you can't avoid it, where no matter how much you try to put a smile on things, like I'm just looking at your note there, you don't want to do that job anymore. It's just every way you look at it, it's misery. It's not acceptable. You've already done everything you can in every way that you can. And maybe things didn't work out. We had this in another reading earlier, but I'm feeling this in a totally different way. This is not you, okay, Jeffrey? But this is sort of surrounding you. It's like, let's say you wake up in the morning. You've already done your reconnaissance trip to Ohio. And so I think you said you were putting some bids or something as, you know, that's like making a point that you're interested in starting a new life in a location. But it feels like one of the motivators is a reality is that your current situation is no longer acceptable. Obviously, I can see the notes here. You can't take it anymore. And it isn't just out of anger or I'm bored or I'm pissed off or I'm resented. It's actually almost kind of like it's tragic. It's almost like, God, I wish it could have worked. It's because, Jeffrey, you put so much into what you do and who you are, the way you do it, how you do it. And when it doesn't work out, it can be almost heartbreaking. So, life moves on, all right? I don't want to relate this to anything to do with love and relationships. The Cups card are here. I think it's much more to do with the heart and the soul and the emotions, where you are at this point where you're literally feeling it. You might be doing a very good job of being professional, taking care of yourself, minding your own business, but deep down it feels like there's a lot of sadness with the realization that I have to change. I have to move on. And it's been a kind of a recurring theme tonight, like, where's the love for me? You know, I've done all this, I've been all that, I've adhered to universal laws, universal truth, and still, where's my good thing for me? The journey continues. The journey continues, okay? What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the Seven of Pentacles here, my feeling is that no matter how well that you're doing right now, you are very much aware about how much more abundance is out there and available to you. But it's also this really painful realization that this wealth, this abundance is not even remotely accessible unless you go through the process of literally having to weed your own garden. Plant your own seeds, great, fine. You know, nurture your business, grow your business, Focus on business and wealth and abundance like a good business person, like a good farmer, like a good entrepreneur. That's fine, but there's a realization that, like life, like with every business, there's a lot of maintenance that goes with it. Like what I would call like back office work, stuff like that. And there's typically no joy, no reward, no excitement, no thrills, no sense of heroism or dynamism, like I'm going to do this amazing thing, blah, 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 blah. And you probably already know this, Jeffrey, like entrepreneurs and businessmen and people. Like some people are really good at starting companies and selling things and being right out there on the front edge to get things to happen, but they have no skills at all at doing administration, back office, accounting, reporting, taxes, all the really tedious maintenance work like customer service for complaints department, all these kinds of things, so that they are necessary to keep life and business moving forward, but it's just so much more fun to just make money. Why can't I just go off and make money and then that solves everything? But it doesn't work that way, because it feels to me like in order for you to prosper and go forward and advance in career and making money and things, because you are a business person, realization like, my God, out of every, let's say, okay, I'm going to go over here now. Let's say psychologically, emotionally, physically, you put in a 60-hour work week. You ascribe that to yourself. Whether it's clocking in at an office or whether you're self-employed, whatever, you put in a lot of work to get done what has to be done. And with the 7 of Pentacles, it's like starting to realize like, oh my God, I can't just focus on growth. Oh man, I have to focus on maintenance, cleanup, repairs. Okay, just imagine a restaurant or a business or whatever. Imagine the master chef. He's famous and rich and he has all these beautiful photographs and TV shows and YouTube channels about all his happy customers and these amazing recipes and how he cooks it all. But for all that to happen, they have to have a kitchen, and to create the level of awesomeness that other people see, it requires a huge amount of back office work. Like running a business. Like, well, someone's got to clean the stove. Someone's got to clean the grill filters. Someone's got to do the stock checks. Someone has to do the accounting. Someone has to check the register at the end of the night. Someone has to do the cleanup of all the mind-boggling mess that happens in an active business or a kitchen or a restaurant or something. All of that has to go on anyway, but there's nothing heroic about it. No one's going to say like, wow, Jeffrey, you did such a fantastic job of cleaning the floor. See? Okay, so let me go over here. And so, with the 7 of Pentacles, it feels like, my gosh, a realization like, of course I have to focus on business, wealth, money, finance, growth, investing, doing what's good, building, all the energy and characteristics of a good business person, a good farmer, a good gardener. But then there's the realization like, for things to actually work, it means like, oh my God, I got to repair the fences, I got to do the weeding, I got to do the watering, I got to do the fertilizing. Ugh. Bleh. Okay? And that can feel like it's emotionally draining. Like, why can't I just focus on success, growth, business? Maybe with any luck, someone else will take care of the other stuff. Right now, that doesn't look like an option. What's the problem here? Okay, it's teamwork. I've got the 3 of Pentacles here, My feeling is that deep down, you know that where you're heading, what you want to do, and how you want to do it requires really wholesome, effective, mutually beneficial partnerships and agreements. Otherwise, nothing works. Look at this imagery here. This beautiful cathedral or monastery cannot be built without the artisans. Okay? The artisans do not know what to do without guidance from the architects and the initiators. They both need each other. These folks can't manifest their dreams and their business without the artisans. The artisans can't do what they do without these folks. So it's teamwork. So you're in a situation where you might not like it, but it's a realization that, oh my God, I can't really do this on my own. I have to create a team. I have to have a team where I basically arrange things according to a business model, a business plan. I think I saw those words earlier, where, yeah, I might be the entrepreneur, I might be the business person, but this is not going to happen unless I'm with other people who are in alignment with my vision. You don't want to make the mistakes of the past. It's really important to have team and teamwork, but it feels like if you've had a lot of problems with teams and teamwork and betrayal and losses in the past, where what you thought was really good team and teamwork didn't work out, then it's very understandable that you might be terrified of teams or teamwork going in the future, where it would be so nice if you could just press all the buttons and have total command and control of everything, so that your garden would flourish without having to do the weeding or the maintenance. But you're smart, you know that's not going to happen. So you get back to this loop where it's just like, oh my God, I can't do this. I have to have a team, but God help me. Who on earth can I trust? Who's going to be willing to work with me for the long term? Who understands me? To whom, like if I'm these folks over here, who can I trust to execute my vision? Like if you have to hire contractors or subcontractors or employees, or if you need to have partnerships in business, what's that going to look like? Oh my God, what is that going to look like? Because if it's not done properly, then it doesn't matter how much work or time or energy or money you invest, you end up with just a mess. A failure, a lost business, a garden that was well intended but that just got overridden by weeds and poor management. So how are we going to deal with this? Okay, so I've got the Ten of Wands here. My feeling with this, Jeffrey, is that it's coming to a realization that, oh my God, literally, look at your own notes there. It really is true. I can't carry this ambition, this journey, this business on my own. I cannot do it on my own. It's too much. It's backbreaking. It'll destroy me. As much as I would love to be a complete command and control execution center in my life, my world, my business, I know deep down I need a team, a partner, or something. Can't do it on my own. And that to me feels like it's a horrible thing for you to have to accept and acknowledge, number one. And number two, it's a horrible thing to actually figure out, well, now that I'm aware of this and there's no getting out of it, in order for me not to break my back, in order for me to go forward and do what has to be done so I can complete the journey, so I can achieve levels of mastery and success and bounty and abundance over here, I have to look at things in a stark reality. My ambition, my goals, my intentions, my business for life going forward finance, money, business is critically dependent on having the right partners, employees, co-workers, or whatever it is. The right environment, the right place, all of it. Everything has to match up. And even though, because you're naturally capable on your own, and you have been an employee, and so on, and you know how much value you bring to the employer, you've reached a point where you can't go back. It's very obvious that you want to be your own business, you want to plant your own garden, you want your own bounty, your own wealth and abundance, but you're realizing it is a team effort. Damn it. Because if you don't have a team, you can't grow the business, because all that'll happen is it'll end up like in the roadside ditch, where it doesn't matter how much time and money, work and investment, if the maintenance and all the other stuff that has to be done isn't done, then it's not going to work. So it's almost like failure is inevitable unless I fully, completely understand the nature of teamwork. So to me it feels like with this reading, Jeffrey, it's like there's no way out of it. You're going to have to explore the idea of maybe finding a partner, finding a trusted partner, finding an employee, presenting your like your business plan, like you said before, in such a way that it's very clear in the business plan that you've got this and this and this and this and this all lined up. Plan. I got a bid for this. I got a bid for that. I know I can set myself up with my life to go here, but like in a really good business plan, what they would do, what anyone would do with a really good business plan, they would highlight the risks and the weak points and the break points where the points of failure. If a business package, a business plan is all about glossy, everything's going to be wonderful, perfect, and there's no mention of the weak points, the Achilles heels, the places where things go wrong, you know that is a useless business plan. So it feels to me like going forward, you're going to have to identify very clearly where your fragilities lie. Like, I know, like I'm never going to be the accountant. I'm never going to be the sweeper, cleaner, upper. I'm never going to be customer service. So you have to kind of define those things in such a way that whoever ends up with you as partners, you have to have very clear definition of roles. Like, I'm Jeffrey. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, and that. I can bring this, and this, and this, and this. But I am not going to do that, or that, and that. That's why I need partner. I need a partner who's willing to do all of that, and that, so I can do my stuff. So it's mutually beneficial. This is all about mutually beneficial relationships. So if you have to find relationship, business agreements and relationships that are mutually beneficial, where you have a very clear understanding of your weaknesses, like there's no way I'm going to do that, or that. I'm not the cleaner-upper. I'm not the gardener. I know what has to be done. I can identify what has to be done, but I'm not actually going to do that. So if you're going to be the boss of something, Jeffrey, we need a lot of definition here. Like, how would you define your partners? I need a partner. In other words, in order that I don't break my back trying to be everything to everybody, in order that I don't get my back broken by going forward thinking I can do it all and realizing I can't, and then I go bankrupt, none of that's acceptable. So the only way forward is identifying anything and everything that you are not willing to do or be, and that is what you need in a partner or an employee or a business or something, Because it's almost like on a business plan, I'll look at it like this. Like pretend I'm Jeffrey. Like, okay, here's my business plan. I'm bringing all of this to the table. I can bring this, 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 and this, and this. That, and that. Here are my strengths, blah, 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 blah. Here are my weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. So, as you can tell from this presentation, I need this, and this, and that, and that from a partner. Are you suitable? Can you see me as a viable, mutually beneficial business agreement between you and me? It has to be, I have to see it in you. You have to see it in me. It has to be mutually beneficial. You have to see in the other person how they can benefit you, and they have to see how you can benefit them. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, I don't know how to do that. Maybe you do it through LinkedIn or something, or a local Craigslist, or through your personal social networks, whatever it is. I don't know. That's your business. But either way, we need to have really good clarity about what's going on here, because teamwork is essential. Good, mutually beneficial teamwork, okay? So Jeffrey, I hope that reading makes sense to you. I know you just donated for fun to help the channel and everything, but you get a reading anyway. There you go. I hope that helped out. Yes, Jeffrey, trust. It's perfectly okay that you don't trust anybody or everyone. Trust is an extremely valuable component in business. You have to have trust somewhere along the line. If you are completely 100% paranoid and you literally don't trust anybody, then guess what? You're radiating the energy of complete distrust, which is almost like an invitation to attract someone who does not respect you or trust you. So you have to be very, very careful. Like you said, it's almost like a process of elimination. Just like, imagine yourself as the boss of a corporation. You need to have certain characteristics and requirements about the people that you work with. And you cannot afford to just, do things because you like the feeling of somebody. There has to be very clear understandings that it has to be mutually beneficial. It's almost like you would want to invite partners to ask the questions of you that they need answered for themselves so that they can understand fully how this can work for them. So it's not all just about for you. It has to go both ways, mutually beneficial. Okay, got it. All right. It looks like you got to go. Okay, thanks for hanging out, Jeffrey. Take care. Thank you for your kindness and generosity. Okay? Jeffrey, I know you got it. Thank you. All right, that's the end of it tonight, folks, people. We had a few readings, and we'll see where that goes. If there's anyone out there watching, never done this before, if you want a full-on personal consultation, just go to terralumination.com. Alrighty. Thank you, Jeffrey. All right. Let's have a look here. I'm going to have one last little sip, and then I'm going to check out with everybody. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure to read for you again, as usual. I'm going to check out immediately. Got stuff to do. Wow, it's dropped. The temperature's dropped. It's only 100 degrees outside right now. Whoo! Chillax, baby. All right, let me see what I can find here. Ba, ba. Um, sorry, give me a second here. I gotta look at something. I think I got it. I'm just gonna check out. Okay. All right.